Recording is on.
Right. Welcome everyone to our data-driven dialogue, trends in achievement and demographic data in MISchoolData. I'm Dr. Jennifer Parker, and I'm joined today by my partners, Dr. Rhonda Provost, Dan Way, and Christy Martin. Today's session is going to be recorded and it is available if you want to join us on the PowerPoint presentation. The tiny URL is listed here. Today's broadcast is a part of a larger body of work through our regional advisory and our ISD leadership. You'll see that Dan and Christy and myself and Rhonda are listed here, as well as two other partners who have had a lot of input into this, Dr. Lisa Lockman and Kathy Miller from Shiawassee. So if after today you are interested in any more professional development opportunities around the state, we do align to the old TRIG map, and we are represented by 5 different regions and 10 regional advisory members, and they are happy to talk about PD in your area, all about MISchoolData. So feel free to reach out to them. There are several other professional development opportunities that are available through the Train the Trainer Network and our ISD leadership. Not only is this part of our webinar series that will finish up here in May and then start our summer launch as well as into the fall, we also have the new PD toolkit on the MISchoolData site, as well as the ever famous talking points for school leaders that Dr. Provost puts out every month. And it is a fabulous resource for you to find out what's happening around the state with MISchoolData, as well as other state initiatives. Today's session is all about data-driven dialogue and data stories. We are hoping that you are going to be able to understand what a data story is, understand how the opportunities for a data story can increase your improvement efforts and your evaluation of your district. We're also hoping that you're going to be able to take a look at the 4 types of data and the way that it looks in MyKIP with the academic, non-academic, and system data. And then lastly, we're going to encourage you to transfer what you learned today into your own professional practice. So today's agenda is really going to talk a lot about the combination and the intersection of the MyKIP system and the MISchoolData portal. We're going to take you into a dive to show you what are some of the demographic and achievement resources that are available, as well as that connection to continuous improvement. And so when you talk about a data story is kind of used in a lot of different ways, but in MyKIP it is one way, and in MISchoolData it has a little different look and feel. But the bottom line is data storytelling is the process of taking what you see and translating that into some type of analysis, and then creating a summary that drives your data-driven decision-making. It also helps you to have conversations and encourages data-driven dialogue. Now, data storytelling is about communicating what you find, talking it through, engaging in conversations, looking at the strengths and the weaknesses. And then lastly, having a data story is all about going through the data sets, summarizing, evaluating, synthesizing, and trying to identify where are some strengths and weaknesses, where are the gaps, and what do we need to do about it. So that data story is an evolving conversation. Now, there are several vocabulary items that revolve around the conversation that we're going to have. And the MyKIP process guide actually has a tremendous amount of vocabulary that is really helpful in the conversations in this area. What is demographic? What is a data object? What is a gap analysis? What is academic data? So if you are unfamiliar with these terms, or this is your first conversation about this particular area, a great resource would be this vocabulary sheet that is hyperlinked in today's session. So as we try to move forward, we need to be thinking about this data story and this data dialogue. What is the difference? Because knowing both systems kind of are talking about the same thing, but in a different way. What's the difference? Well, data dialogue are the activities. Those are the things that you're doing around exploring, engaging, and decision-making. Whereas the data story is the process to facilitate that dialogue, where you're going to put things in the MyKIP system. You're going to upload your PDFs. You're going to look through the pinhole to MyKIP or to MISchoolData, and you're going to engage in those conversations. One of the foundational pieces to the conversation, and a lot of the work that is being brought today, as well as to the MyKIP and MySchoolData conversation, our Big Ten network, and etc., is around the data-driven dialogue work. And if you've not seen the Lipton and Wellman book, this is kind of like definitely one of our go-to resources. They talk about data-driven dialogue and the importance of activating and engaging in the data, exploring and discovering, and organizing and integrating. And so those three phases are part of that process to get us to the data story. All the data in the world won't mean anything unless you have a contextual story or context to the story and it makes meaning to you. If you're in the data business and school improvement is one of the hats that you wear, you know that we always have to triangulate our data. We are always looking at 3 ways, 3 sources, 3 different lenses on that single question or piece, that problem of practice that we are looking at, because we want to be able to evaluate and review and make sure that we're on the right path. So with MySchoolData and MyKIP, as well as the Data Hub, if you're using that for your exchange, you are trying to create a story of what's really happening in your school district. And these systems work together to try and help you do that. As we all know, most of our conversations started with the whole child approach and taking a look at assess needs, plan, implement, monitor, and evaluate. This is the foundation for the MyKIP system. And the real goal is for your district to understand what's happening, and then you transform that into understanding what's happening with students. So I'm going to go ahead and hope that this is set up. Let me just check one more time. I'm going to stop the share and I'm going to share one more time and make sure that you guys can hear this. But this is a really interesting video that'll talk about our data conversation at a different level.
As parents, educators, policymakers, society, we all want our children to be prepared for the future. But when faced with overwhelming statistics, we wonder how it is possible. If we break that overwhelming statistic down into manageable pieces of information and data points, we can understand how to tackle the problem. Only with data can our students navigate the increasingly global and complex maze of decisions ahead and avoid becoming part of the overwhelming statistic. We all want to answer the question, how are my kids doing? What has proven to work to get my child on track for future success? Are my students learning enough in 1 year? How much does it cost to make students college and career ready? The problem is we're using an outdated paradigm where data is inaccurate, expensive to obtain, difficult to transport, and flows in only one direction, up. In nearly every other field, they use data differently. We can visit multiple doctors in multiple places and take our data with us. Businesses strategically gather data and tailor it to their specific needs to make the best use of resources and provide the best return on their investment. We rely upon law enforcement to use data to identify issues before they become serious problems, because the stakes are high and the risks are real. To answer our questions, we need a new paradigm in education, where data is in context, reliable, timely, portable, and flows in all directions. So we can tailor data to find out exactly where we are and where to go at each turn. And we can be notified instantly if we take a wrong turn. So we can all know where we stand and that our children are on the right path. Most states now have data to answer our questions and accomplish our goal. Let's use it. Because if we're not using data to determine where our children are going, what are we using? Data is power. We can't afford not to use it.
So I appreciate the fact that that video truly challenges us to be thinking about how data can empower us as educators in this continuous improvement process. The state of Michigan has done so many great things to bring such great resources like MISchoolData and MyKIP to our fingertips as PK20 educators. It really gives us a lot of opportunities to engage in this conversation about data-driven dialogue. So we're going to shift gears here for a second, and I want you to think about the questions that you have considered over the past decade or so with regard to continuous improvement. Previously, we talked about school improvement. We named it school improvement, and we had, I know I'm dating myself, but we'll go back to the school data profile analysis. And through our MISchoolData group and back in the D4SS days, we did create that data reference manual that showed us where in many of these platforms you could find the data that you needed to inform what was happening in your district. Kathy Miller, as part of our regional advisory team and part of our ISD leadership, has put together a really great success tool that we've linked here with some questions and guide to data analysis. These are timeless questions that lead you to demographic and achievement data in a variety of sources. And they help you to kind of look at what is it you should be asking yourself or asking your teams to come up with so you can engage in dialogue. With the two sources today as our focus with MISchoolData, it's important to understand what is in MISchoolData. We all know that it is the education data portal, and it gathers data from a variety of sources, the FID, the GAD, the EEM, the REP. So many different state databases are feeding into the MISchoolData that there is a ton of resources to help you engage in dialogue. The other pieces are the fact that you can grab Excel spreadsheets, or you can grab charts, or you can look at trends. The functionality and features of the MISchoolData portal allow you really to take that data down to the personal level and kind of make some decisions in your district. Shifting to MyKIP, you have the data in MISchoolData. What do you use MyKIP for? Well, that is to facilitate a conversation about the data and a place for you to maybe upload snapshots of data to tell that data story. Whereas you've got all these data pieces, you're really trying to create data stories around specific areas in continuous improvement. To further continue the continuous improvement process, know that in the assessed needs process, which is part of our continuous process, MISchoolData is a part of the initial implementation where you're talking about data discovery and you're thinking about what are the areas that I need to perform inquiry on. So MISchoolData, with the assessed needs process that is part of how we roll in continuous improvement here in our state, MISchoolData falls into the first couple of stages. So I want to give you a suggestion. If you are using the MyKIP system in combination with MISchoolData, you need to frame that the MISchoolData system comes in through MyKIP through the pinhole. You will only see the MyKIP district level access of MISchoolData. MyKIP will not bring through the pinhole any of your unique privileges that you have in the MISchoolData system, such as student level information. So what many of our folks have realized is when you're using MyKIP and MISchoolData, you probably want to have two tabs open. One with your MISchoolData logged in to your MyLogin third party so that you have access to all the wonderful permissions that you have as the role that you wear, and the MyKIP system where you're going to be doing some district level analysis and creating data stories. So this is an example of the homepage contents of MISchoolData. Most of you on the broadcast are very familiar with the site. You know that across the top we have menus, and we also have these new personas. And if you're in continuous improvement conversations, one of the best places to go is a landing page. And the K-12 landing page and the educator persona landing page are two great places for you to start your conversations. MISchoolData also has a search feature, which is evolved from the legacy site and is a fantastic way for you to specifically, I'm looking for graduation, or specifically looking for other pieces of information like achievement scores. So use that search feature and use it wisely. And the last part of the MISchoolData kind of that I would use independently is the fabulous data tools intro report that has been transitioned from the legacy site into the new redesigned site. These are the questions that we've always asked about MISchool or about continuous improvement. Notice that I am in the K-12 menu under state testing, under data tools for school improvement. And just a heads up, you must be logged in to access this information. But these are all those wonderful school improvement questions like Kathy Miller had in her toolbox. These are the questions and the direct links in the MISchoolData portal for you to pull that information to engage in further dialogue. So that is the data tools for school improvement. They are hidden in the state testing area of K-12 menu, and they do require a login. And you'll also see that there are those research questions and the other links. These are quick hyperlinks based on the inquiry. So if I pick a high school to dig into, once I use that in my inquiry settings, I can click on student count attendance trend and it will pull up the inquiry. Can't make it much more simple than that. It's a pretty great way to use MISchoolData to find some of those key continuous improvement questions that we have always been digging into. And the last thing I want to share here with you before I turn it over here pretty quickly to Dan is another resource shared by our Train the Trainer Network. This came out of Shiawassee and again, Kathy Miller's group. She took those questions and those are actually available and they're hyperlinked. So if you have a student attendance question, here's kind of a visual of what you're going to see. You can click on the inquiry just like you would in the data tools for school improvement. You can use this tool also. It gets you right to the source of the inquiry. So MyKIP and MISchoolData went to dinner. Now what is it going to look like? What's the meal going to look like that we cook up? Understand that MyKIP is the continuous improvement system and that it's fed by lots and lots of data sources. Your data-driven dialogue, your data story is going to need to have several sources. Maybe you're bringing data through the data exchange of the data hub. Maybe you're pulling down information from MISchoolData or bringing it in through the pinhole. Or maybe you have some great student information systems or data warehouses that you want to download information, such as your NWEA scores or your end of course assessments or your interims. You know what you can see in each one of these three. Those get fed into MyKIP, either through the pinhole or by you downloading PDF and uploading them into the MyKIP system. I can't stress enough that it is very important for you to understand that MyKIP is at a district level at this point. So any of the data that you see through the MyKIP or through MISchoolData pinhole is coming in at the district level. And hopefully you remember that you want to have a second tab open, logged into MISchoolData, your third-party login, so that you see your privileges and you also see the MyKIP MISchoolData vision through the pinhole. So as I prepare to push off into Dan Wayland, where Dan is going to talk a little bit more about the different data sets, we want to revisit that frame of Victoria Bernhardt. 4 types of data that you're going to be collecting in a couple of different sources, look and feel in MyKIP. You're looking for achievement and demographic, which you can find in MISchoolData. Your process and perception will possibly have other sources like your local data warehouse, student information system, local surveys, etc. But we are looking to meet right here, that intersection of those data types, so you can engage in data dialogue and create a data story. If you are unfamiliar with the 4 types of data that you are looking for, we've included a tip sheet here, and I'm pretty sure that most of you on the call today understand those 4 types of data. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Dan, who's going to transition us from the 4 data types and knowing where we can get this data to digging into MyKIP to putting the data into that data story. Dan?
Thank you, Dr. Parker. So I'm going to talk about how to start creating a data story through the MyKeep platform, and then how can we get the data from MySchoolData. So as Dr. Parker has mentioned that data story is a great process to facilitate data-driven dialogue, and MyKeep is connected with MySchoolData. So areas of inquiry is the entry point to begin the assessment needs process. And no matter where you start to explore your data or how you are going to start your exploration, we need a combination of the 4 different types of data: perception, process, demographic, and achievement. That's a best practice of our continuous score improvement. So there are 2 potential approaches that we can use: a pre-populated template, as we have shown in the previous slide, or we can create our own data set. So you first need to identify a potential problem or practice from your current reality, and then identify 2 to 3 possible data points to make sense of your data. So this is what it looks like at the MyKeep platform. So down here in the rectangle box, you can see the data template pre-built within the 3 categories: academic, non-academic, and system. Or you can go up here, the red arrow showing that where you can create the custom data set. Here are 2 great examples of the problem we can identify. For example, our elementary reading scores are really low, or the high school algebra teachers say our students are not prepared for the high-level math classes. Then where can we go to build a data story around this problem we have identified? So here are the 4 essential questions we can consider. What data is available for students, teachers, curriculum instruction, leadership, and infrastructure? So these questions can generate multiple theories of causation, help us understand the different reasons, different solutions to the outcome we have got. And what data is available for academic, non-academic, and system? Where can we find that data? Is it from MySchoolData, Data Hub, or the local data warehouse? And what additional data do we need to consider? And where can we find it? So the team has developed this great resource to visualize the interconnection of the system and the subsystem. We can use this tool to brainstorm the possible data sources that impact the system and have a great data conversation with your colleagues. And you may also notice that this table is color-coded. So it uses the Victor Bernhardt's the 4 types of data. So you can see the red for achievement data, blue for demographic, yellow for process, and green for perception data. Okay, so after we identify the problem and the possible data sources, we need to figure out where can we find out the data, the data location. So it might be from MySchoolData or Data Hub or local data warehouse. So this is a tool to help us identify the location of the data sources. So this is a practice sheet for us to record our problem of practice identified, our possible data sources around the 6 categories of causation, and also use the 4 different types. Okay, so data discovery is a process. It starts off with area of inquiry, and then we select the data object to create a data set. Then we summarize the findings of our data set to create a data story. Then where do we start? So the great news is that MISchoolData is connected with MyKeep. So this is an example showing us we can access data through MISchoolData pinholes at the MyKeep platform. So at the MyKeep platform, you will be asked to where would you like to add data from. You can choose MISchoolData, Data Hub, and the local data warehouse. So let's say we'd like to choose data from MISchoolData. And then you will be asked what category of data would you like to add and which topic are you interested in. Then this is how we select the data objects from MISchoolData. The MISchoolData has 9,600 data reports. Where do we start? So we create this MISchoolData MyKeep crosswalk. This title is hyperlinked here. And it lists some of the most popular data reports from MISchoolData. It is by topic and category corresponding with the MyKeep platform prompts. And it also shows the name of the data report and giving you a brief description of the data reports. So these data reports are divided into two categories. One is demographic data, which is by students, staff, school, or achievement and outcome data. So this is an example of MISchoolData. So as I mentioned, that demographic describes the characteristics of students, staff, school, and the community. So these new student subgroups is listed under the main menu. It allows users to learn about the different student breakdowns like gender, race, ethnicity, homeless, economic disadvantages, and it provides lots of data reports by subgroups. And then under the main menu, K to 12 grade, we have this submenu students. From here, we can view reports about student attendance, student dropout rate, school of choice, grade retention, enrollment, and student mobility, all the characteristics of the students. Here is an example of the student attendance trend. So this graph shows the student attendance trend in the past 5 years. And also you can break down by the student subgroups. You can look at how the student attendance rate different by grade level, or by race, ethnicity, or gender, or how about the economic disadvantaged students. And you can compare the students, the attendance rate between the chronically absent and non-chronically absent students. And another demographic group of staff is also under the main menu K to 12 grade. You can view the reports about the educator effectiveness. Just to be aware that this is aggregate data will be integrated into the MyKeep platform, and it's not the individual teacher's evaluation. And also staffing count can be broken down by the different characteristics. So here is an example of demographic trend of staffing. It shows the 5 years trend of the staff. You can also look at the information broken down by administrator and teachers, sub-teachers, or paraprofessionals. You can also look at the different trend by the race, gender, longevity, which is the years of teaching experience, education level, and age. So under the main menu K to 12 grade, we also have a financial and district information that describes the school characteristics. Some of the reports like financial transparency dashboard or district expenditure, they show us the different financial metrics. So here is an example of the demographic trend in district expenditure. So you can look at the trend over the 5 years, and you can look at how the money, how much money is spent on instruction or instructional support, non-instructional support, community service, and so on. So we have talked about demographic trend data. What about achievement and outcome data? So here under the K to 12 grade main menu, we have state testing, which provides a lot of data reports, including the 3rd to 8th grade state testing, such as MSTEP, MyAccess, PSAT, and SAT data. It also shows the student growth data. For example, this is the MSTEP proficiency trend. It shows the 5 years trend. And this graph shows, for example, the 5th grade shows a downward trend in the recent 3 years. So you might want to look at, dig deeper to see which subgroup perform well or not well. So here you can, under the report category, you can select by gender, race, ethnicity, economic disadvantage, and some other demographic subgroups. This example of college readiness, this is based on SAT data. Similarly, we can break down information by race, gender, economic disadvantage, and so on. So other than the K to 12 achievement and outcome data, we can also look at the post-secondary outcome of our students. So how about our students? How many students are enrolled in college? And are they on track to graduate from college? Are they successful in college? And do they need to take the remedial coursework? So this example of college remedial coursework, it shows how many students are enrolled in the college remedial coursework. And also you can break down the information by the subgroup to dig deeper to see which subgroup might be more likely to be enrolled in college remedial coursework. So like we said, data discovery is a process. We put the data together. We want to find out what does the data say? Make sense of the data. So just to remember, the data you select, they need to support your data story and address the problem of practice. So Dr. Parker has talked about the data tools for school improvements. And here I want to say it again, the data needs a context. So these data tools is a great resource. Although it emphasizes on the academic, but it puts the academic data in the demographic context. So this data tools shows you not just the achievement data, also shows you the demographic data and the context of the school. So now currently we need to shift our mindset from academic focus to a whole child perspective. And we really need to consider all the 4 different types of data to create a data story for the continuous improvement.
Thank you, Dan. You have done a phenomenal job of explaining, and I really appreciate the resource that you created that walks us through the MyKIP questions, as well as specifically shows us where in the portal that we are able to get that. I'm going to go ahead and go out to the MySchoolData portal and see if it loves me enough to let me log in. I'm going to sign in. And folks, we're going to show you where some of the places were that we visited today. And this is the fun part about MySchoolData. When you are using your login third party, you get to double check your multi-factor authentication. It logs you out after a couple of minutes of inactivity, making sure that we are secure. So now I am logged in, and we're going to show you a couple things. So a reminder, you're going to run MyKIP in one tab. You probably want to run the full version of MySchoolData in a second tab. Because you are coming through MyKIP at a district perspective, you're going to have your bells and whistles of your unique permissions in that second tab, just as best practice. And as you guys as school improvement facilitators or folks in the central office that are engaging in these conversations, model that for your folks. So we went to a couple different places here. One of the first ones that is really, really important that we keep in mind is that K-12 state testing. Here are the data tools for school improvement. And folks, CEPI is very dedicated to this connection and this collaboration between MyKIP and MySchoolData. These data tools intro report have been around for many years, go all the way back to when we were doing the school data profile analysis. I'm just going to go ahead and pick a school district and pick a building. And I'm going to go ahead and say update report. It will bring you into 3 tabs. You've got the intro report, you've got research questions, and you've got other links. This overview report is a summary that dates back to the old days of when we used to do business, but it still has some really important data and statistics that may help you with your data story, such as grades per school building, race, ethnicity. It's all captured here in a snapshot. When you click on the tab called Research Questions, it will bring me to the inquiry area, and it will remind me of the selection for the building that I'm in. I click the blue Update Report, and it brings me back to those key questions that we have asked since the beginning of time about continuous improvement. Demographic and achievement questions and data sets that we can find in MySchoolData. These are the inquiries that you can quickly run based on a quick link here. How does achievement compare to statewide with math, ELA, science, etc.? These are all great questions that have been out there that we are definitely interested in looking up. If I click on other links, this again will bring me in and remind me of the inquiry settings in the district or building that I'm looking for. And it gives me an opportunity to run these inquiries from my M-STEP snapshots for social studies to mobility trends to attendance trends. Simply by clicking on these, it will take me to that area of the portal and allow me to run those inquiries. So this is just a fantastic way to engage in some quick conversations, to gather data, have data-driven dialogue, and create your data story. A couple of other places that we would recommend that you go to find achievement and demographic data and engage in conversations. If I come into the K-12 menu, not only is the state testing available here, but there are also the staffing information that Dan shared with you and the student information. So student demographics, state testing for achievement scores, and staffing information. Now, there may be other pieces here that you are interested in, such as the finances of your district. And Dan went through and showed you where in the portal these all are, but for most part, most of them live here in K-12. But probably the best place to come in the K-12 is K-12 landing page. The K-12 landing page is one-stop shopping. It's got All these inquiries that again are one click, the inquiry pops up, you click the blue update report button. You've got student information, state testing, English learner, school accountability. All of these are on the K-12 landing page. These are direct inquiries and a direct access to run that report. Again, that is K-12, that is the K-12 landing page. Another place I would like to take you as a continuous improvement facilitator or someone who engages in data-driven dialogue is the dashboard and education focus areas, because the dashboards give us an overview of our district, not only from the Our Schools at a Glance to the parent dashboard to the district best practices. Each one of these helps us to craft a data story. Many of these things lead to what we previously did in ASSIST called the executive summary and giving us an overview. Some of these things do link to our program evaluation tool that will help us to kind of define who we are and what program strategies or initiatives we need to review. So these are great foundational pieces to give you that 30,000 foot view of your district for any of your state reporting that needs a preamble. The education focus areas would take you into accountability as well as some additional access. And then the compare tool. Compare tool lets you compare to up to 20 entities. And as a school building engaging in dialogue and comparing our reading scores to someone that might be like us or a school district that is near us, these comparisons are also a great resource for engaging in conversations. So with that said, I will throw it out to the group if there is anything that in the live portal you would like to see before I turn it back to Rhonda Provost. Dr. Provost, if there's anything in the chat, let me know. Otherwise, I will turn it back to you to take us to our closing.
I don't see anything reported in the chat at this time.
All righty.
This has been very informational.
All right, well, we will leave off in the educator persona. And the educator persona is like the K-12 landing page, has a lot of great information and hot links for our folks. And between the K-12 menu and the educator persona, a lot of great resources. So Dr. Provost, take it away. Bring us to the close.
All right, well, we thank everyone for attending today's session. As Dr. Parker mentioned at the opening, if you have any further questions or are interested in further trainings related to the MISchoolData portal, we have the 5 regions that are represented in the state, and these are the contacts and are available in your slide deck for today. We also have one more webinar left of the 19 we offered this school year. You can also link here if you're interested in joining us on May 4th. For the pre-K 20 data in MISchoolData, focusing on curriculum, counseling, and post-secondary connections.
And Dr. Provost, I love that we have recorded all these webinars and they are out there on the MISchoolData YouTube channel. That is absolutely, we've come leaps and bounds with our webinars.
Yes, we have. And so the next slide, we are sharing with you all of those archives from this school year. So if there's a topic, we have the date they were recorded because we have some duplicates that we've offered this school year. And we know that there has been change. We were in redesign and we want you as participants to always have the latest and greatest that is coming forward. And we also populate that in our talking points. But if you're interested in a 1-hour session with your staff, this is the place to go for MISchoolData Land. We started on August 25th, and these are archived in the Macomb ISD YouTube channel through our March 10th webinar. So please feel free to link into these and you will have the live broadcast. We also have launched in March of 2021 courses that are available in the EduPass and are also available for One Sketchy. These are 4 lessons. They were developed around the MISchoolData redesign. Another one is focusing in lesson 2 on dashboard and education focus areas, the new personas in lesson 3, and then the tour of the pre-K 20 menus. and you can access that by logging in with your EduPaths login, and you will then, with this link, go right to the MISchoolData lessons that are available. Also for today, we do need your attendance. If you click the attendance link, we ask that you please place your name, your email, your school district, your initials, answer a couple questions, and then if you're interested in the sketchies, that is downloadable as well. And then you will follow up with that form by emailing it to Angie Chirio, our administrative assistant at Macomb ISD. Her email is achirio@misd.net. So if you're interested in sketchies, that would be who you would send your form to. And please remember to make a copy of the form. So as we finish up today's session, for resources, Dr. Parker talked about the new professional development toolkit, and especially those resources that are underlying with tools for school improvement. Those are very, very helpful as well. And know that we've placed links in all of the slides so that you have immediate access to those latest and greatest tools that have been created on behalf of the ISD professional development team. If you have any questions following today's session, again, you can refer back to your regional advisor, but technical questions may be answered by SEPI at their help desk. Questions related to my login third party, you saw Dr. Parker go through her quick little login. If you need assistance with that, the link is there to visit the My Login help page. And then of course, contact your technical contact at the ISD if you have any further access questions to the MISchoolData portal. For TTT, on behalf of the TTT, Dr. Parker and Kathy Miller from Shiawassee RISA would be your contacts. We thank you so much for attending today's 1 hour webinar. Again, this will be, you will be followed up with an email with the link to the recording, as well as the YouTube channel information. So on behalf of our team, thank you for attending today and have a great rest of your day.